Hey, what's up, guys? Oh, happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. It is a crazy one out there right now. It is sunny here in Texas. Well, that's pretty normal. That's like saying, hey, there's air here in Texas. It's always sunny, always bright, except on the few days it's not, and it's really awesome because I am a melancholy weirdo. Anywho, hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining me. If you are joining live, if not, catching the replay later, cool. Let me know you're here, and I can see some comments, some things going on. I wanted to talk really quick about three things. There are three important logins, and that you need to get from your web person. I've been doing a lot of web work. I've started an agency. We're called 8-Bit Communications. I'm really pumped about it. I've got a lot of clients coming in for businesses, not a ton of churches. For churches, I work with Church Com Team. We try to filter church business through that because that's a little bit different need over there. But everybody needs a website, right? So if you need help with a website, I'd love to help you. I freelance it and would be happy to work on some things for you. But here's some things you need, and I promise you, if I work with you, I'll give you. There are when you're working with a web person, you're giving them a lot of codes and access. Okay. It's been really weird to me that people are giving me their email addresses, their Gmail addresses. They're handing me their credit card information to buy things for them that they need to set this stuff up. They give and because you have to, you have to give that information out, or you have to come in and hey, Adrian, how's it going? You have to come in and you have to set up all these things for them, or they have to do it themselves. So they're probably usually more happy giving you credit card information and login information, email address information, so they don't have to deal with it. And so if you're an agency, you're working on this is the kind of stuff you get. So you go in and you set all these things up for them, and what's probably best practice for the agency is so that I don't have to keep authenticating. The two-factor authentication is super secure. I really like it for that. Really hate it when you don't have the credentials and you keep having to do it, because what happens is you try to log into their account or whatever to do work, and they're like, oh, wait, we don't recognize you. Let me send a code to an email that they have or a phone that they have, and you have to call them. Can you give me that code? It has to be in like a minute. It's really quick response, and nobody ever responds that fast. And so you're having to wait around. You got to do it several times. Very frustrating. So it's easier as an agency just to set it up in our name and then transfer ownership when we're done. So we end up setting up things in our name and then transferring it over. But sometimes the logins to all these different places get lost in it, right? They get lost in the switch. I don't know how many clients I've come to that have been like, hey, we need to update our website. And I can't do half of what they want me to do because somewhere somebody has a login email and password that I have to contact them, and they're not responding, and we're waiting on them to get back with us, and they don't care. They're done with us, right? They're done with this client. They obviously are not getting any more business because they've hired me now instead of them. And so I'm trying to get them to give me stuff. And it's just like, I can't do the work. I can't get anything done because this person didn't have the information that they should have gotten before they let this person off the hook for the job. And I want to tell you what those three logins are. Okay. So for a website, you basically have three areas that are specifically different if you're doing your own site. Now, if you have something like Wix or something like Squarespace, some of this is integrated into one place, right? But if you're doing a WordPress site, you have a builder, you have hosting, and you have wherever your URL domain DNS is handled. Tammy had to recently deal with that with a client on the other coast. Oh, and then you add time difference. Dude, that's a mess. That is a mess. I have a client in Florida right now that I'm struggling with, who are an hour ahead, that, it's like, I'm done. And, I'm just now getting finished. I'm trying to get information from them, and it's like 4:30. Well, it's 5:30 there, and so it's kind of annoying to get that during dinner. So I'm trying to get things done early in the day. But, anyway, three things you need to get. And let me tell you what the difference is. If you didn't know this, it's maybe review. You might know this, and if you do, cool. Feel free to add any other insight in the comments here. But first, you need a username and password yourself as the client to the back end of your WordPress site, right? I'm going to create the site. If I'm doing it from scratch, I'm making it in my own email and everything with the agency, I need to right away give you your own administrative username, email, and password as a user that can come in whenever. Let them have that. You got to give that, and you got to keep all these in the same place. All these passwords. So make sure that you've got them connected. They've got their password. Second, you're going to have hosting. A WordPress website on WordPress.org is just the builder. It's like the face of the website. It's where you create the HTML code of essentially whatever builder you use. That's essentially what you're doing. Is they've made it very easy to drop HTML blocks into places that do certain things for your website. So you have visual builders and things like that. That's great. But all that's doing is putting HTML code onto a server somewhere that says when people go somewhere, this is what you need to bring up. And it looks like your website. So it's beautiful. So your website is actually not living at WordPress. It's living on your hosting network. That is something like Bluehost, Flywheel, which I really love. WP Engine has just bought Flywheel. So that's getting better and better and faster. And they're offering lots of free stuff like free CDNs, which makes it HTTPS instead of HTTP. Certificates does that. But they also offer a CDN, which is a caching thing that makes it faster. So they're doing all kinds of great stuff. I love Flywheel. Bluehost is good. HostGator, people have said they love. SiteGround is one of the top ones. There's all, even GoDaddy, which is a place where usually I buy my domains, actually hosts and has a builder and all kinds of crazy stuff now. I don't know if it's good or not, but these are places you can go. But hosting is where your website actually physically lives. And the thing you need access to is the hosting backend and the cPanel. So if you ever need to FTP, if none of these words make sense to you, fine. Just know you need access to that to be able to hand that, not you do stuff, but hand that to somebody new that might be working on your website. You need access to that. And if you don't have access to that, then you try to set up new emails and go through your URL, or you try to do fix your plugins, or you try to add things, you're dead in the water. You can't do hardly anything. It's very, very difficult. And I would add maybe an FTP login and stuff. You might get that too as a fourth thing, but you definitely need the back end login to your hosting. Third thing you absolutely need is the login information to your URL. So your website lives on the host, but that website through WordPress on the front end has a crazy looking URL, right? It is not your church.com. It is some WordPress.org/ fuzzy bunny, blah, 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 whatever, they've decided with a million numbers behind it. That's your website URL until you point your actual website to that site and connect it. You do that through the DNS of like a GoDaddy. And I use GoDaddy. I like GoDaddy. I've used it from the very beginning. They're affordable. They're easy to use. People sometimes hate on them. I don't care, whatever. But whatever company you use for this, make sure they're a company that's going to be in existence in the next 5 years. And that's a good rule of thumb for all of these things. I don't know how many times I've tried to track down hosting information, but I can't get it because the place they bought it from has been sold and bought by this other company that was bought by this other company, and it has this weird address for the first company to get login info that doesn't exist anymore with this new that they grandfathered in, and they're like, oh, you're an old customer. And we're like, I don't even know if I'm a customer. Who has this information? No one. So there's no way to know. Always make sure you're using high quality companies for this kind of stuff, because that will be a nightmare if you ever decide to update your website. It has been a nightmare for me to find who has the actual hosting DNS login of this website. I still have a client that I can't find out of 5 different people I've talked to, different companies, who actually owns the URL. Who has it? It's like, who do I even talk to get the login? Don't even know, because nobody knows anymore. They've been bought and sold so many times. It's nuts. That's why I always go with GoDaddy, because I know GoDaddy is a big company and they're going to be here. So always make sure you're using reputable companies. Don't just let some web designer pick their own friend's little company or whatever. You don't know if they're going to be around. So pick something that you're going to be able to transfer over to somebody else. That's my advice. Others may dispute that. Feel free to tell me stuff I don't know in the comments. That's what I would do. So I use GoDaddy, and you got to buy a URL, and then you have to go into your DNS and point that URL to your website. But you need to be able to do that, because right now I've got a client that wants to set up G Suite for their URL, and their URL, let's say it's sethmuse.com, right? I want to send email from Seth@sethmuse.com instead of, which my other one is seminaryofhardknocks@gmail.com, and that's what I set it all up with. But I bought G Suite, and I want Seth@sethmuse.com. So if you have a URL you want to run email through, you have to set in your G Suite up. They give you things called C names, MX records, a bunch of random jargon stuff that I don't really like talking about. But the point is, if you can't get into that part of your DNS for your website, whether it's your hosting company that has it or like your URL company that you bought it through has it, wherever that is, if you don't have the login, you can't change that. So you can't add those emails. So you can't get email on that URL. You just can't do it. And if there's a way around it, please drop that in the comments to help a brother out, because I don't know how to do it, and I'm going to stand still with this client. This is not really my bag, right? This is not my bread and butter, but I'm email marketing, social media, and content. I'm really not a back-end SEO details guy, but I'm learning all this stuff because I'm dealing with it, and I'm going, man, if people would just do these things and make sure they have these logins, whenever they ask a client, a new agency to take over or a friend take over, they're able to quickly hand you all that you need, and they can just go and not have to go through all this. I've been waiting for 2 months for this guy named Jose to send us login information, and 3 different emails we've tried to email him, and he has not responded but once, and he didn't give us everything we needed or asked for. That's the kind of stuff that you're going to deal with if you don't get this right away. Get it up front. Make sure you store it in a place that's safe, and that's a big factor there, is that you have a place where you have your passwords. I recommend a password manager, 123password, 1Password, Dashlane. God, there's a bunch of them. And if nothing else, just put it in a Google Doc and save it somewhere. Just save it where people can access it. So find a place to keep all these in the same spot. You need your email address, your PIN numbers, your usernames, your actual password. All of that has to be stored somewhere. Keep up with it, because if you don't have all that stuff, if you get ready to update your website, get ready for a long, tedious, crazy, difficult process where everyone ends up frustrated because somebody didn't get the passwords. So that's my advice to you if you're updating your website. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it you probably aren't thinking about, you don't want to think about. And so think about it for a little bit, store it so you don't have to think about it again. Make sure you've got that information, those 3 logins, your URL, DNS, your hosting provider, and your actual builder WordPress website. If you have Squarespace, the URL is sometimes you can buy it through Squarespace. It's hosted on Squarespace servers, and you build on Squarespace. It's all inclusive. That's why if you're not doing a WordPress site and having to find these places on your own, Squarespace is a great option. I struggle with their builder, but it is easy and it always looks great. And I'm actually building some Squarespace sites for clients right now because it's easy to do and it looks really nice. People can grasp it quick and it's easy to set up. So I wouldn't recommend buying and selling unless you know what you're doing through that. Products and stuff, but most churches aren't doing that. But if you're looking for a nice looking website, Squarespace can do it, and it's all hosted in one. So if that's an option for you, that's very easy to keep up with. Wix and Weebly and sites like that, I tend to not like those very much, even though they're kind of the same thing. A WordPress.com site is along those lines. I don't like those. There's a lot of reasons why I don't have time to get into here. They're not as stable, and when you hand those off to people, they get really funky, handing off credentials. And I edited a Wix site for a client. He'd already built it. He really didn't want me to do much to it. And I was like, fine, I'm just connecting email to it and, through it and using stuff like that. So I've worked with them. They're fine, but, and they're cheap. But if you're going to do a Wix site, you may as well do a Squarespace site. They're just more stable, and it's a company that you can definitely trust. May as well. It's just, gosh, Squarespace is so much better. I always do WordPress.org with my own hosting. I love Flywheel with GoDaddy, where I buy my DNS management. So, and URLs through GoDaddy. That's my 2 cents. I hope that helps. That's, to be honest, I hate talking about this kind of stuff. The websites suck. I just really don't like it. If you want to know somebody who really knows their stuff, who really is good at websites, I have a friend named Justin Nava. He hates WordPress. He does something totally different. He swears by it. So ask him for advice if you don't want to go that route. And he's really good at it. My friend Paul Cox handles the church.co. They have a different way of doing websites that are really, really great. My friend Rob Lauder, his last name looks like it says laughter, but it's Lauder. And Rob is a WordPress coding genius. So if you ever have back-end DNS server, blah, blah, blah stuff, he knows it. He's pretty smart. He knows his stuff on the back end. I'm sure there's others I'm forgetting right now. Oh, my friend Casey Fulgenzi's in here. I hope it says his last name right. I think I did. Casey, he does their online store and some online stuff for Redeemer Presbyterian for Tim Keller in New York. That dude is a Squarespace authorized guy. He's in this group, so hit him up for questions. And then there's tons of others in this group. If you're a website person and you've got insight, raise your hand in the comments and let people know you're here so that they can know who to ask questions when they have issues with this kind of stuff. Because this is definitely, I'm a little out of my depth when it comes to back end of websites. HTML for sure. I need builders. I need easy. And I think most of us are like that. So if that's you too, then you probably got questions. If you're one of those people in this group, raise your hand in the comments. Let us know you're here, and that way we can find out who to ask when we have questions. I know those are the people I go to when I have different questions for different things. And, thankfully they're very patient and helpful and, willing to give me some time because we're buddies, but I know they love to help people figure this stuff out. It's part of their ministry. So ask them. I don't know if Paul's in the group. Paul Cox may not be, but Justin and Rob and Casey are all in the group. So you can ask those guys. Anyway, I'll get out of here now. I've been rambling. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so I'm in after prom mode right now. So anyway, have a good night. Have a good day. What is today? Thursday? I need to go to sleep. Okay. Love you guys. Hope you're having a great week. Hope Easter was awesome. And let me know how I can help you. See ya.